Hello and welcome. My name is Megan Lucky and this is A Lucky Life. Come along with me as I try and get to know myself better and hopefully help you get to know yourself better too. Welcome, Rachel. Thank you so much for coming on A Lucky Life. I'm so excited to have you and I'm so excited for you guys to hear Rachel's wisdom and get to know her a little bit better. Rachel and I know each other from work and she's one of the best people that I know in the world. So I'm really excited to shoot the shit and have you guys get to know her a little bit better.
Thank you.
Rachel is a mom. She's a wife. She's a corporate baddie. She's an actress and she is a jack of all trades. So I am excited for you guys to learn a little bit more about the woman who can do it all.
Oh my gosh. Well, she tries to do it all. Sometimes it's better than others. But yes, Megan and I met at work. And yeah, we met, 2021, working in the corporate world. And I was blessed to meet Megan, and now we're really good friends. And we have so much fun together. And so I feel really happy and lucky to be on A Lucky Life. And Megan has a lot of wisdom too, which I'm sure everyone is very aware of.
Thank you, Rachel.
But yeah, that was a great introduction of me. I'm just out here on these streets trying to make money, but also achieve my creative goals and also be like a good mom, partner, human.
Aren't we all? That's actually one of the things that I wanted to talk a little bit more about today because I know it's hard being all those things and finding the balance and being someone who's creative but also someone who wants to make money and is in the corporate world trying to support their family and juggle it all. Like, do you have any wisdom or advice for people who have creative aspirations but feel kind of stuck in the rat race a little bit?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on that. I mean, I think it's one thing is like, you can take time with things, you know? You can, just because you're not doing the most at this moment doesn't mean that like a week or a month, a year from now, you might feel in a better place to do that. So I feel like don't put pressure on yourself to have a timeline, but also conversely, try to prioritize ways that you can scratch that creative itch.
Yeah.
Or, you know, figure out how you can manage your time. And I think going back to prioritizing, like figuring out what to say no to, like, you know, if it's not going to like, if it's not fulfilling the goal of like, okay, this is part of my job, this is what I have to do every day to support my family, or this is going to enrich me or nourish me, or, you know, I feel like finding the balance in that, but then also saying yes to things like going to see a play or taking a new opportunity to be inspired by. So I don't know. I'm giving lots of
I love that. Lots of nuggets.
Conflicting advice.
No.
But I feel like, you know, some days one of those things might be more applicable than others. But I am just a person that I just have a lot of internal drive. And I had
Have you always been like that?
Yes. I had an astrology reading.
Oh, we love our astrology
reading with this amazing astrologist.
Yeah.
But anyway, one of the things she said about my chart was that she said, like, you have more energy than most people. And that really resonated with me because I feel like sometimes it's difficult for me to manage expectations about what folks are capable of just because I do, for whatever reason, I just came out like this. I have an inexorbitant amount of energy, which does make it easier to wear a lot of hats, juggle a lot of stuff. Yeah. But I still think that everybody has the capability to do that if they want to, with, you know, prioritization and giving self grace and just trusting, I guess, that if it's something that you want to do, aspire to do, are passionate about, it will eventually pan out. And looking at things in chapters. I'm talking
I
so
love
much,
that.
sorry.
No.
But no, once I remember I was doing a job once and one of the women I was working with said, this is my chapter for doing this. And some chapters are longer than others. And I really, really like that just because like not everything is forever. Okay, my chapter right now is I'm focusing on supporting my family, maybe not doing my artistic things full time or as much as I would like to, but that's just this chapter. Some people call it a season. I don't know why I like chapter better, but
Era phase.
So yeah, I think just knowing that things are not permanent and you can always change your situation and things are, you know, in flow.
Yes, there's so much. I feel like the podcast can be done.
Oh my God, am I rambling?
No,
if people can
it's
like
really
pull
good.
it out.
There's a few things I want to double tap on.
Yeah.
In that, because I really like how you said it's finding what to say no to and what to say yes to. I think that's something I've definitely been learning as I've been getting older. I definitely get in people pleaser phases of my life where I don't fill my cup up with the things that are really fueling me.
One thing I did want to say is like, in terms of like people pleasing or feeling like you always have to say, like, I feel like sometimes you don't know what you want or don't want until you say yes to stuff, right? And no, because you could say no to something and be like, oh man, I really wish I was doing that,
or say no and be like, I'm glad I did.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like sometimes it just takes practice and experience to know what you want to say yes or no to, and that's like part of the challenge of life, right? Like knowing what will serve you and being able to articulate that, and it could be different on the day. It's hard to figure out.
One of the prompts that I see is you ask yourself at the end of the day when you're reflecting, how did this activity or whatever I did, or day in general, how did it serve my growth, or how did it serve me? I think that's a profound question, because there's a lot of activities I think that border on, is this something that is really serving me in like the long term or not? And I think that's something that helps me figure out what to say yes and no to a little bit better. And it's not always black and white.
Yeah,
but
no, totally.
I do think that kind of, I don't know if that was exactly the prompt, but something like that. It was like, how is this serving my goals?
Oh, yes.
Like, yes. You can have goals in like so many different sectors of life.
Right.
So like, is this serving my social goal of like maintaining relationships and, ones that serve me? Is this serving my goal of like
being financially savvy or
being financially
saving
stable?
Or yeah.
Asking yourself at the end of the activity, how did that serve? How is this serving my goals? And there are a lot of things that we get sucked into that don't serve our goals, but we still spend a lot of time doing them because they're habits and they're patterns and they're addictions. And those are things I'm trying to work on breaking, or at least like being aware of when I'm doing it, because it's a pattern that is taking me away from things that are serving my goals, So another question I wanted to ask you, Rachel, is, since we're talking about like kind of how we want to grow and our goals and in our life, what is one thing you're working on right now in terms of your own personal growth?
I am working on choosing joy and embracing the fun of things, and sort of, finding the fun and the positive in things, and just surrendering almost to the universe. We love Gabby Bernstein.
I was just about to say.
We love her. And I'm currently reading her book, The Universe Has Your Back, which has been such a great book. Lots of the stuff in there is very resonant with me, and just sort of surrendering to the universe and trusting that the universe and all that makes that up is conspiring for things to happen in a way that will be for your highest good. So I think just trying to trust, let go, enjoy, and find the fun in things, because I think that's when I feel the most creative. That's when I think I feel the most like I have the most energy to do all the things that I'm trying to do. So choosing joy. And then obviously not everything can be fun, but leaning into that. That's what I've been trying to do lately.
Totally. And I think that's super resonant to a lot of people, because there's a lot of like negativity out there. But Rachel and I have honestly been working in new little practices on our day-to-day and helping each other, because I also read The Universe Has Your Back. We actually saw Gabby Bernstein talk live in person in New York a couple weeks ago. She's amazing. We love her. We also pull an affirmation card from Gabby's deck almost every day.
Yeah. And it's just, I don't know, it's just like a fun little mantra for the day, something positive.
It's a good little perspective.
Yeah.
It's like,
Another thing that I like about Gabby, just because obviously we want to be positive, but life is real and we also want to be authentic. But I like that she says that like you can forgive yourself for having negative thoughts, or forgive yourself for, going down a path in your mind of like judgment or negativity, because you can always just break the ship. You can always bring it back to joy, or just say like, you know what? I acknowledge that thought, but that's not necessarily the thoughts that I want to have.
Yes.
So thank you for showing me the thoughts that I don't want to have. So I think,
instead of the shame spiral. Of like beating yourself up.
Totally.
Even just like in little ways you don't realize for having those thoughts and or doing it without awareness, like finding the balance between those things. But there's something else that you said that I really want to talk about, and I feel like we've been talking about this a little bit recently. I feel like, and I feel for women especially, like there is a belief that I used to carry that's like you can either be real and authentic but a bitch, or you can be nice but kind of fake. And there's not really much middle ground, and I've been learning how to find that middle ground. You don't have to be one or the other. It's not so black and white. I have a really hard time with having conflict and having hard conversations that I felt like I needed to stand up for myself, but I didn't want to be mean. I didn't want to upset anyone or make anyone uncomfortable. But now, and that came from a lot of people pleaser energy, but now I'm learning how to do that. I'm learning how to have hard conversations in a way that is authentic. So I'm standing up for myself. It may be uncomfortable, but I'm going to be kind about it. I'm going to be empathetic about it. And I don't need to choose between being real and being nice. I can be both. And I think that's something that I feel like women in particular have a harder time figuring that out.
Yeah, I do. I agree. I think you bring up some really good things here in just wanting everything to be okay, wanting to avoid conflict, wanting people to just be happy and get along, and then just thinking about, in the past, so many things that I've let go that were not serving me, that were toxic, that were actually not very nice, that I just let go because I don't know if it's just like, when I was raised, I'm an elder millennial, but it was, you kind of, I don't know if it was like at that time, I think things were a little bit more gendered. And so I think that it was kind of expected that girls or females were like nice and
keeping everything
keep the peace and we're just gonna be nice to people, So, or some people, like, kind of like what you were saying, it's like you're either really nice and like fake and everything's fine, or you're like a bitch, and that is really true.
And then you don't feel good about either one of those things. Right. And it's finding that balance that I've had to learn as I've gotten older. And honestly, a lot of the time, and I haven't done it that much, but when I have done it, I feel like you get so much clarity on whether or not you want to keep the person in your life or keep the situation or the environment in your life, because you're like, oh, well, they responded really well because it was a mature conversation and this is someone that I respect and I'm okay having a relationship with at whatever capacity, even if they hurt me and I felt like, I needed to have that conversation in the first place for whatever reason.
I think also like when you discuss maybe an issue you're having with someone that you're, be it a family member, a friend, whatever, I think their response is like very informative. Like,
exactly.
If the relationship is, at least like not necessarily, if both parties are wanting things to be better, even if the resolution is like this relationship should end, I think people can do it in a healthy way. And I think if people react badly when you come to them with kindness, empathy, calmness. And if they still react badly to that, then you need to reexamine that friendship or that relationship.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what I was trying to say, except I lost my train of thought. Like, you can tell. The train
is leaving the station.
It's just, this week has been foggy.
Yeah, this week is weird. And it's foggy outside, too. It's a representation.
Right. It is. But yeah, so I think learning these things as we get older, that you don't have to choose between being authentic and being a kind person, which I really felt you couldn't be both growing up. So,
well, I think it's actually more kind to be honest with people, right?
Yes.
Because you don't want to because if you're carrying around, like if you're hurt or carrying around bad feelings or resentments towards people, but you don't want to tell them because you don't want to, rock the boat or break the peace, then you're really actually not being kind to them because they don't know.
Exactly.
And I would always want to know if I was upsetting somebody or if I did something inadvertently that caused somebody to, have bad feelings about me. I would always want to know. So I think I think like being authentic, being true to yourself can be very difficult, but I definitely think it is in the long run the kindest option for people because then you're being honest with them.
And it's not kind to let people treat you bad either. It's not kind to yourself, and it's also not kind to them. You want to hold them accountable. You want to hold them to a higher standard because you want everyone around you to be the best version of themselves, and you want to be the best version of yourself. So I think that's something that I'm learning how to navigate as I get older in friendships and relationships, and being able to let go when the conflict is unresolvable, or if there is irreconcilable differences that you outgrow people sometimes, and that's sad because a lot of times we grow up with people or we have histories with them, and it's hard to cut ties. And there's attachments there, so it's challenging to navigate as I'm getting older. It's like I think there's also a balance between, sometimes you can just have people at arm's length distance. Some people are toxic enough where it's like, I don't want this person a part of my life anymore, and that's a hard thing to navigate through.
Yeah, I think that's something that I never kind of knew about growing up.
Yeah, me neither.
Is that you could like stop being friends with people, or and that could be your choice.
Yes.
You could change and grow so much that it's
Your
not
whole
even
life looks different.
and that just for whatever reason, maybe no one even like did anything, but maybe you're just so different from each other than you once were that it just doesn't really work for a close friendship.
The positive side of that is people are meant to change. They are designed to change.
Yeah.
And you aren't going to be aligned with everything that you were aligned with in one phase of your life, one chapter of your life, that you are in the next chapter, and that's okay. I don't know, like I feel like
that kind of is like something like my therapist says too, is that like as these relationships change and evolve and grow or stay stagnant, you can sort of categorize people. Like maybe it's like, this is the person that like every so often I go see a play with, or like, hey, this is the person that like I'm going to see every week no matter what for brunch. This is a person that like, 2 times a year we have coffee just to check in. There's lots of different ways to have and maintain relationships too. Like it doesn't have to be like we're besties, we hang out every day, we text every day, we call every day. There's lots of different ways to have friendships and fulfilling relationships. And I think being open to those things changing and looking different is good and helps in the long run, because it can be painful.
Yeah.
Friendships changing or losing friends, or even deciding that you're the one that that needs to remove yourself from the relationship so that you can be the best version of yourself and be happy and avoid toxicity. Yeah. So it's hard, and no one prepares you for that. I just finished today the book that's called "Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before?" And it's like so many things about like mental health that we just never learn. And it's so I recommend that book. It's a good one. They have a lot of information in there that is kind of similar to what we're talking about, but more just on how to deal with change and how to change your life if you want to, and how to change your mental state if it's not something that you want to live in every day. So that kind of brings me to my next question, which we're kind of talking about change, and we're talking about ourselves evolving over time. So my question is, what has been the best change of plans or change of dreams that has happened to you? Oh my gosh, I feel like so many things.
Yeah.
I've always been interested in writing, and when I was younger, I did it a lot. And it's something I've always been interested in. And recently, I've written 2 things, a short film with 2 other women, and then a pilot with my husband. And that is just, even though it's just something I never thought I would do, and now I'm really, really interested in being involved in the entertainment industry in that way. And I think like just being open to that possibility. And obviously, I want to be an actor and whatever, but I just love the entertainment industry. Like I love telling stories. I love creating characters. So if I can do that in any way, then that feels really fulfilling to me. Yes. And I think, now I have other ideas too. I'm like, maybe it would be fun to one day be like a showrunner. I'd never thought of that before, but that came out of writing and enjoying putting it all together. I now also all of a sudden have interest in directing. My father was a director, but I don't know why, but I was always like, I can't do that. But now I'm like, why not? So I think like staying curious and just, and even things like when I moved to New York, I'm like a classically trained Shakespearean actor. I thought all I would do was like do stage work and whatnot, but a lot of the work that I've gotten has been like film and television, which I now love. And it's just not something that I ever thought would be part of my story. So I think it's just staying open and I've said to Megan, like, I never even thought I would get married because it's just, I don't know. I just didn't, I don't know. I just
didn't see it
Yeah.
at that time
and here
in
we
your
go.
life. Well, and I think, like, I'm so glad you brought this up because this is something we kind of talked about recently. And I think people get so attached to a one dream, one outcome, and then they let it keep them in a spiral of like shame when that doesn't happen exactly the way they want it to, exactly when they want it to. So I think that's such a powerful and important perspective. Thank you for sharing that. I really think it's important to be open to different possibilities and let the universe guide you. And look, you still might have all of those things that you wanted exactly as you wanted them. Or you might get something even better, and trusting, like we said, and surrendering that the universe is going to bring you to your highest good. Yeah, I actually saw, and I'm not like a big fan of this person at all, but it was who's dating Selena Gomez, like Benny something.
Oh yeah, I'm not the person.
I don't know. That. He's like I think he's a producer. I think he's a music producer. I'm not like his biggest fan, but I saw a podcast clip of him with Jay Shetty, and he was talking about how he went into the industry thinking he was going to be a rapper or thinking he was going to be one thing. And then he started writing and he started producing. And like now he's so super successful because of that being open and being open to different possibilities. And I think that's something that a lot of people need to hear. Yeah. And that's something I definitely.
And I think that like maybe like, me writing is going to lead to me like writing the perfect piece for myself that then I will end up acting in. So it's like,
exactly.
It's like, it's not like either or. It's like, it's and. It's
yes.
like, I'm going to write and then I'll do this and then I'll do that, So it's
I love and. I love
just
that.
being open to that. It's like, it doesn't mean just because I'm focusing on writing doesn't mean like, well, I'll never act again. It's like, like you can hold so many things within yourself, And
I think putting yourself out there for different opportunities, because that's what the universe wants you to do. Like you need to be open to things being a little bit different and going with the flow, and then you're attracting the energy of being able to get what you want and putting yourself in the positions that you don't know where they could lead.
Yeah,
so like you have to be open to it.
That's exciting though.
It's
too,
exciting,
right? Like what's the point of life if we just like know I mean, I do say this sometimes. I'm like, I wish I could just know everything that's going to happen, but that wouldn't be. No, we don't want that.
We don't want that.
Maybe we do. I don't know.
I do think it's there's a balance. Yeah. There's a balance
but
there.
I also think like, one of the reasons that I started making my own work is because I didn't feel like I was getting the roles that I wanted or the opportunities necessarily that I wanted.
And it forced you into this new path.
Yeah. So,
looking at things like opportunities to learn, to grow, and to be your best self, like everything, all the negative things, like how can you learn from it? What are you going to do to become and create the life that you want from this? Because sometimes you cannot, most of the time you cannot control what happens to you. You can control your reaction to it. And if you are dead set on one thing, keep working in that direction, but just don't close yourself off to things. Like still be open and be learning and allow new things to come in. So that brings me to my next question.
She's full of them.
I'm full of them. Okay. What are some things that you do that make you feel the best? And also, I just want to plug Rachel really quick. She's an amazing actor, so I want to give her some flowers here.
Oh my gosh, thank you. Thank you. She's got a big ego. She doesn't need it that much.
No, you don't. No, she's humble. She's humble. But yeah, so I know that brings you a lot of joy, and I've always been inspired and amazed because I'll go to your pantos, I'll go to your shows, and then we'll go to work like the next day. And I'm like, how does she manage this? She has a child. She's a corporate baddie and she's an actor and she's writing. Like she's doing all these things. Yeah, I love the term corporate baddie.
I'm a baddie. I'm like, ha 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 ha.
So, I mean, I don't even know what my question was. I forgot.
Oh, what are things that make me feel good?
Yeah, what makes you feel the best? Like what brings you the feeling of alignment the most, and the feeling of this feels good to me. Like, what's something that you do on a regular enough basis that will, if you're feeling like thrown off or dysregulated, something that brings you back to your joyful self. Like we were talking about finding the joy. What's one of those things that helps you find the joy?
This might sound silly, but I think like little moments of like self-care. Like, I don't know, sometimes if I'm feeling like, man, I'll go like get my nails done, or like I'll try to put together like a cute outfit, or I don't know, just I feel like sometimes like working from the outside in, like seeing like, oh, I really like my nail color. Oh, you know, that wasn't so bad. I don't know. Like, I think that's probably
little
like
self-care
my go-to,
tips.
like a quick little like self-care moment, or like a.
Would you say like working also on your creative hobbies and passions?
Yeah,
sometimes.
I think so. But I think one thing that I've learned from my husband, actually, we're both very, very different in the way that my husband's also a creative person. He's an actor, writer,
also great,
like freelance voiceover artist. Like, you know, his creative process relies on like having a lot of space and time and being and absorbing and experiencing, whereas a lot of my stuff is like almost like forcing, molding, making, doing, and that's not always how it works. Like sometimes you cannot force a thing. Like you need time to like marinate, or you know, it was really interesting when I was working on this short film with these two other fabulous women. I would go into these sessions and I would not think of anything prior to it. This is getting off topic, but it's just something interesting.
It doesn't matter.
I would not come in with any ideas, any preconceived notions, nothing. And we would just like get to talking and like be in the moment. It was almost like a flow. Like, and I was just like coming up with ideas. They were coming up with ideas out of nowhere. Like we would come in with like, we wouldn't even know where we were going to go in our session, and it would come out with these incredible outcomes. And I mean, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but I think just like, again, remaining open, also like not forcing yourself to like go, because you do need moments for your brain to rest so you can like notice things or absorb things or be inspired by stuff. But it's like if you're so focused on like banging it out, going, which is my sort of like general resting state, like the hustle culture, taking moments for like rest or chilling. Like it is, I find it very difficult to like sit and watch television without being like making a list, writing. But my husband is really good at he's like, I need this. And my husband is an incredible, prolific writer. Like he is, I cannot even explain how gifted this person is to you, but like, I will get so angry because I'll be like, "You're just sitting there."
Oh my God, Andrew does that to me.
But he needs that. Like his brain and his creative process like needs that. You know,
that is such a healthy relationship perspective. I think that is I don't even think you meant to give that advice.
We've been married for a long time too.
And I was going to ask you.
We met in 2005. And became really good friends. We started dating in 2008, got married in 2010. So we have known each other forever, and we were friends first. So you know where this is going. What's your piece of advice for a lasting, healthy, loving relationship? Because I think hard. We're both like committed to working on the relationship and communicating and expanding, growing. We are both certainly not the same people that we were when we met and even when we got married. And I think even before we had a child, so I think both of our commitment to that and our ability to we like talk so much. It's probably like ridiculous.
No.
The amount that
that's
we
what
talk,
I hear.
Analyze, like we just, you know, and I think we're both in therapy, and I think kind of like going into our backgrounds and realizing things that might be sort of like triggers or things like that for us, being able to talk about that with the other person. And then, you know, because now I know, because my husband has ADHD. Yes. So now,
so do I.
This pain. But I think that knowing, he's a few times started having conversations with others who have ADHD, and they talk about how their thoughts work and how their brains work. And I'm like, whoa.
This is a healthy perspective you didn't know.
That is really, like, I am never going to sit there and call you, like, lazy for watching TV again.
Like, I'm triggered. I'm literally triggered.
Like, because my brain just works differently. So it's like but also, like, his beautiful ADHD brain is what makes him, like,
so creative
characters and, like, dialogue and, like, have all these, like, amazing thoughts, you know? So... yeah, I think even just like being open to learning and accepting and knowing that people are different, and just talking. I mean, we talk so much. Like there is not a secret between us. Like,
Yeah.
we, you know, like, and I think that works really well for us.
I mean, that was so powerful. Like, I think that is such good advice, because a lot of people, whether it's with their partner, whether it's with their family, whether it's with literally strangers, assume that their brains work the same, like that minds work the same, and that people should be doing things like this, or people should. And that is such a healthy perspective, especially in relationships. You need to want to be curious about your partner and why they are the way they are. Because a lot of the times things come down, fights often, and conflict comes down to wanting each other to see the other person, wanting to be heard, wanting to be understood. And if you're not curious and you are always assuming intent, you don't realize that sometimes their brains work differently, and they do something that's differently than you. It's not because they don't like you, or not something they do. Like, I know the holistic psychologist, Dr. Nicole LaPera, I think I'm saying that wrong, but whatever. She talks about this, like, especially with like doing the dishes. Like, she sees like when her partner doesn't do the dishes, like they don't appreciate me. They don't do things for me. But like for them, it's like they have ADHD and their brain works differently. So it's like not in any way like something I don't want to do for you, or something against you. It's like regulating yourself to know, okay, this is we operate differently. It's not something that I need to get furious about. And like that's honestly I feel like that's a bad example.
But like that is really true, because early in our relationship I would feel those things, like he does so much, but like I'd be like, why didn't you like put that plate away or something like that? But like it just doesn't,
you don't care about this household.
Like
or
me, I'm just like, I cannot relax unless everything is in its perfect place.
Yes.
And then for him, like the thought of trying to get everything into its perfect place is like overwhelming.
Same with me. That's how I operate.
Yeah. So so now that I like can understand that, I'm like, oh, all right, whatever.
Yes.
There's so many other things. I can, you know what? I can just put this plate away.
And also,
like,
and
also like relax. Like a plate can be sitting out on a counter and no one's gonna die. Like,
but also like understanding like that maybe that's a trigger for you, but also maybe that the response is a trigger for him, because for me,
the ways you and your partner trigger each other,
and being curious about those triggers and being compassionate. Maybe you're not in the wrong for saying, hey, like, can you fucking pick up those fucking dishes? But sometimes you want to be compassionate towards your partner, and sometimes it takes more effort to put into the communication than maybe it should, or maybe that you think is normal. However, if you love your person, you don't want to upset them. And if you learn about them and you're curious about their triggers, you can avoid certain blow-ups or certain fights. And I think that's such a healthy part of relationships, when you're able to be curious and compassionate about their triggers. So I think that's so helpful.
Yeah, no, totally. And it's a process. Like, you
learn.
5 times out of 10, I will be the nice person. The other 5, I will be like, put this fucking plate away. So.
And you have to, but you're with a person that provides you with this safe environment to have the moments where you can have those little slip ups and have it be okay after. Like, know that you can say sometimes have things you say you don't mean, but you come back on the other side of it, and you love each other, and you do better next time. And you're always kind of growth oriented, which I also think I'm about to make a bold claim. I don't know if you can have a long-term healthy relationship if you don't have kind of a growth mindset. If you're not open to growing with a person that changes. Like, I don't know if that's fair.
But I think that's another one of those things that like nobody told me. Like,
yes,
I don't really.
People change.
Yeah, I don't know if people expect themselves to change in the ways that they do, and things happen in life. Like people go through like shit. Yeah, and it changes you ways. Nobody can predict how their life is going to go or how they're going to change. But yeah, I think there's no sort of like guidance of like you're gonna change, and you got to be prepared for your partner to change too. You kind of just think like. I don't know. I don't think it's something people articulate too much. Like,
yeah, I think that's like so much of what's driving me in my career aspirations, which like we just talked about, I don't have like one set outcome. I'm putting myself in a bunch of different fields right now so that I can figure out what I want and be open to different things that are aligned with me. But what's driving it a lot is there's a lot out there that we don't talk about and that we don't understand. And when we do talk about it, it's easier for us all to navigate, and being open and being vulnerable is something that is scary and hard, but I feel compelled in my life to do more of, because I think, like you said, like life changes, people change, but there's a lot we're not educated on. There's a lot we're not aware of. And so having the ability to have these kinds of conversations, I think, is something that fuels me. But I feel like I was...
That was good. We're just spitting nuggets, you know?
I know we do have to wrap up kind of soon. So, I mean, unless there's any direction that you want to take this, I would love to ask you a couple more questions.
Yeah. We love a question.
And now this is more general. Okay. What is the best piece of advice you've ever gotten? And then the worst piece of advice you've ever gotten?
These are good questions, because I feel like I've heard so many things.
I know. Or would you rather answer, what are you trying to welcome into your life right now? And what are you trying to let go of in your life right now?
I'm trying to welcome in more opportunities to be creative and get paid and be able to support my family with that creative side of myself. So I'm really, really kind of like manifesting that right now, and working really hard. We've been doing so much work writing this pilot that we've been working on. So yeah, I think just really manifesting that goal of being able to provide for our family using our creative, artistic talents within the entertainment industry.
That bring you joy and passion.
That bring us joy. And then I think I'm just trying to let go of like anything that just makes me like not...
That doesn't align with you.
Yeah, like hanging out with people and then just kind of being like, all they did was kind of like gossip about people or talk shit or rehash the same stuff we always talk about. Like, I'm not saying like they're cut or anything, but just like, being aware. Just kind of being aware of that and saying like, do I really need to do that?
And how often?
So I think just being more aware of that.
Yeah. I also think something like we were saying earlier that a lot of people don't know how to do, or they lose the ability to know how to do it. We are very good at it as children, but as we get older, we get a lot more in our heads and out of how we feel, and being able to handle how we feel and know how we feel so that we can get clarity and answers on direction in our life that we need to go in. Like you said, leaving certain interactions with people. How do I feel? Like checking in with ourselves more. How did I feel about that? Because that is literally so important on, okay, is this something I want to keep in my life? Like, you're allowed to want to feel good. And that's something that Gabby Bernstein talks about a lot. Yeah. And I think we should pull a card before.
Oh, yeah. But I did think of the good advice.
Okay.
And maybe some bad advice. And then we'll pull a card for sure.
Okay.
So the good advice, actually, it's something actually that I read in the universe has your back recently that I just, no one it wasn't like told down to me by a relative. But I read it recently and I loved it. It was something to the effect of like, those who are certain can wait and wait and wait with no anxiety.
Patience.
So it's like, I've always felt certain that I will somehow have a career in the entertainment industry. I have always felt that certainty.
Wow.
And so I think that, and I've, there's been times when I've been like angsty about it. Like, why am I not getting this audition? Why am I not at this certain point? But I've just always been like, I've always said that I will be like that woman in Titanic who was like 87 and got nominated for an Oscar. But I have this certainty, and then I don't need to be anxious. I don't need to worry about when it's coming, how it's coming. It's gonna come. I don't know the other details, but I'm certain about it, so I can just let go of all the anxiety. And I loved that. I loved that in the book. I thought that was chef's kiss. Chef's kiss.
Also, you were talking about surrendering more and trusting more, and that's so aligned with that. And I think everybody needs to do a little bit more of that. Being open, being able to trust and know that you are allowed to be certain and you're allowed to want what you want. Hold your dreams as true as the reality around you. You know what I mean? Like really believing it And then that takes away so much anxiety and worry and stress.
Yeah, totally.
Because you're like, oh, it's fine. Like, I trust that that's my path. That's my destiny. No matter what, even if it looks different, just having that certainty, it's your choice to have that certainty.
Yeah, it is. It really
is your
Yeah,
choice.
no.
And so that's such good advice.
Yeah, I love that. I guess the bad advice, if we want bad advice, is, back in the day, again, I like to talk about how old I am.
Oldie. Just kidding.
Corporate old baddie.
Old corporate baddie.
Old corporate crone. But, back in the day, there was a lot of, like, especially within the entertainment industry and my training around that, it was all of, like, do whatever it takes. And, like, you're
Totally.
replaceable. And you have to, like, be the most sort of, like, compliant and the most,
Hustle
like, willing
culture.
to say yes and willing to do anything. And I think that was incredibly toxic and led to a lot of the toxicity within many industries. So I think that was some, like, terrible advice, and I'm glad that our culture seems to be moving away from that a bit.
You don't have to be willing to do anything.
Yeah, like, no, we don't have to do anything. Like, no, just
that's good.
It should feel right to you,
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
It's like I'm trying to give advice for, like, a 90s movie or something.
I freaking love it. This is how it's supposed to be. This is our fucking movie, so.
Yeah, so why not? We can do whatever we want.
Anyways, should we pull a card?
Yeah, let's pull a
pull
card.
a Gabby Bernstein
Super
card.
Attractor.
Woo!
These are really, really fun.
You should buy
love
these.
them.
We love them.
We make people at work pull them, too, sometimes, which is very funny.
They're like, oh,
They're
what
like,
is this
oh,
woo-woo bullshit?
They'll kind of be like, oh, that's nice. Okay.
You go first.
Okay, I'm going to go first? Okay.
You go first.
Because I'm holding my mic, I'm going to do sort of like a...
Do you want me to hold it for you?
Thank you. We got to do a shuffle.
Universe, show us a message for Rachel and for the audience that we need to hear today.
Ooh,
a new one.
Never gotten this one before. When I make joy a priority, brilliant ideas will come naturally. Support will surround me and movements will form. I feel like we were just talking about this. Like, I was talking about being in the flow and, like,
that was the first thing you said. You said, I want to choose joy more.
Wow.
And find the joy.
I love this.
Oh my God, that's magical.
That's great.
That's a
We love
spiritual
it.
synchronicity, and you know what that means. It's special. That's what that means.
You know what that means.
No, we don't.
Okay, now I've got two mics.
Double duty.
Double fisting. Okay, show our dear Megan the message that she needs from the universe, and anyone out there in the virtual verse who may also need a message. Oh, we're getting a lot of new ones today.
When I connect to the spiritual realm, I open the door to receive divine guidance, clear direction, and great wisdom. Just like I was saying, connecting to how you feel, connecting to your intuition, connecting to what you believe in, like your spiritual beliefs, that has truly changed the course of my life in the last few years.
She's been getting those a lot because, like, like we said, we're so cool and we do this every day at work. But you've been getting a lot that one, like the universe is providing me with, like, divine guidance.
Yes.
Like, you've been getting that, basically listen to the universe, listen to yourself.
Trust.
Yeah. You've been getting those a lot.
It's something I'm passionate about. I also think sometimes I tend to look for the uncertain answers externally, like asking people, what should I do? Looking for a sign even. And sometimes that works, but ultimately, like, the universe has been guiding me back to my intuition.
Yeah.
Like, you
wanted that sign and you just kept not getting it. And I was like, I honestly
there's
think
a reason
that
for
the
that.
universe wants you to decide this for yourself, and you need to figure out really what you want.
Yes. Yes. Oh, well, thank you so much, Rachel.
Thank
this
you.
was such a fun episode to film. And we might have to have you on for an encore sometime soon.
Well, you know what? I'm always here every day.
Me too. So I love you guys, and I will see you in 2 weeks. Thank you, Rachel. Bye.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Hello and welcome. My name is Megan Lucky, and this is A Lucky Life. Come along with me as I try and get to know myself better and hopefully help you get to know yourself better too.